Honourable John Banks.
Mr Speaker, I think a young child needs just two things: unconditional love in a home of love and care, and a world-class education. And there are far too many of our young children today that don't get unconditional love and don't get the opportunity for a world-class education. And we can have these high-level debates about economic growth, unemployment, revenue, expenditure control, fiscal drag, tax rates and everything else, but unless we deal with the 20% long tail of failure in education, then this country is never going to reach its potential. And yet so many of those young people that come from deprived backgrounds and hardship goes hand in hand with poor education attainment, lack of self-esteem, ultimately no job, out of work and out of hope. And Mr Speaker, if we want to empty out the prisons, and if we want to empty out the dole queues, and if we want to empty out society's people that have been left behind, then we've got to give every young kid an opportunity for a world-class education. And in Northland, there's two things happening that the parliamentary opposition is opposed to. In Whangaruru, there's a small partnership school being set up. And in Whangarei, there's a small partnership school being set up. And let me just give you one fact. In Whangarei, 70% of all Maori boys fail NCEA Level 1. That's right. 70% fail NCEA Level 1 across Northland. But at the partnership school in Whangarei, over the last 4 years, nurturing kids from difficult families, nurturing kids from struggling whānau and giving them a world-class education has resulted in a 100% pass rate in NCEA Level 1 in that school that will be operational on day 1, term 1 next year. Maori boys achieving a 100% success rate in NCEA Level 1 through the opportunity of flexibility in education and a world-class school. And it's the same in Bland Bay. And my right honourable friend across the aisle knows Bland Bay better than anyone. He knows how deprived that area is. He knows the history of the whānau, and it goes back 800 years. They're good people, but what they do need is to lift the tide, to lift all of the boats by giving them a world-class education that partnership schools will do, and that is what this government, along with the ACT Party, has delivered this year. And I challenge anyone on the other side of the House, someday in the future, to migrate from here to Whangarei and Whangaruru and close those educational excellence centres down. And it won't happen. And it won't happen. Because you can't have kids failing at the rate of 70% and come in here and say you've got a world-class education because you haven't. And everyone here, even Dr. Norman knows, the most illiterate of fiscal malnutritions in this House, he knows that we'll never get this country great. We'll never make this country world-class in education until we give an opportunity for the 20% of young people that fail the system an opportunity to get a world-class education, the dignity of work and a future for themselves and their whānau. And we're starting it in two deprived areas where I once located and where the right honourable gentleman comes from so many years ago. And he knows he's silent. He knows, because we can't sit back in this parliament and allow so many kids to fail in an education system that we describe as world-class, which is no such thing for those that fail NCEA Level 1 and NCEA Level 2. So I give praise and thanks to the National Party partners in the coalition agreement I give praise and thanks to the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, and in particular the Minister of Education, for toughing it out against these intellectual gangsters that don't want a bar of international excellence in education for the most deprived. And we do. And Winston knows. Winston's not as silly as he can look. Winston knows, he knows that the way to success for his brothers and sisters in those far-flung areas from where he comes is to give them a sense of purpose and dignity through a world-class education. And that is why this time next year, those Muppets will be there. Those Muppets will be there.
Order.
Those Muppets will be there.
Order.
And this coalition will be here. And that is the only reason, Mr. Speaker, that I'm here, to make sure that they are there. They are there. The biggest risk to this country's economic future is for those Muppets to migrate from that side of the House to this side of the House. Am I right? Am I right? How right am I? These people over here are the greatest risk to this country's economic and social future that we have, and it's coming around this time next year. And, Mr. Speaker, I've got to say I've had a very good year. I mean, they can give it, but they can't take it. Listen, I'm not buckled, I'm not bent, I'm not wilted, I'm not worried by these Muppets over there. They don't like it.
Order.
And one day I'll come back in here and I will make them eat crow. What will I make them do? What will I make them eat? What will they do? They will choke on the crow. And even my right honourable mate over there, the bloke that wrote my first political speech, he knows it's true. So I finish as I began. This government finishes this year strongly. It is well and ably led by John King.
Order.
The most reliable business partner this government has is Banksy. Who is the most reliable business partner? Banksy. That's right, and they don't like it. Now, okay. I want to say something nice about these people, so please be quiet. I want to say something nice about these people. The best thing, Mr. Speaker, I can wish for these people is to have a very safe and happy Christmas with their families, in the knowledge that they'll come back next year and the coalition of losers will stay exactly where they are. Is that right? That's right. The coalition of losers will stay exactly where they are, because the people of New Zealand know that they promote nothing, they stand for nothing, they'll say anything, they'll do what they want to do, and they've got no hope of getting over here. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my loyal staff in my parliamentary office. I want to thank my staff in Epsom. I want to thank all of the people around here that have been gracious and supportive. Because if it wasn't for the people of Epsom in 2011, we could well be over there and these Muppets over here. And how bad would that be? How bad? Very bad. Terrible. So our role in life is to make sure we have economic security, stable government, good management of public policy, a first-class front bench, a fine Prime Minister, a very reliable coalition partner in the form of the ACT Party leader and member for Epsom. Do you agree? Yes. They agree. How good is that? But, Mr. Speaker, I wish you and your family every success for Christmas. I wish everyone in this House lots of peace and tranquility for the future. I'm looking forward to next year immensely, because that is the year they're all going to eat. That's right, Mr. Speaker.
Order. 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 Point of order. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave for the member who just resumed his seat to have an extension of time. That's the most hilarious valedictory I've ever heard.
Order. 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 Grant Robertson.
Speaker, it gives me great pleasure to